Hey there, I'm Brandon Howe, and welcome back to my Making a Game series. In the last episode, we created a fancy schmancy background. So we have stars coming in, and we have planets and asteroids coming in, and it's all randomized, and each time we die and respawn, it's re-randomized. We can have different levels where we have different planets set up that come in and out. And I also lightly changed the colors, just so they're all different, which doesn't really change much, but yeah. Now, in this episode, we're going to be improving the player's ship, so that it's not just a cube, but we have an actual spaceship. Now, before we do that, there are some slight things I want to change. Now, if you notice when we hit our boundaries, we kind of get stuck a bit. Now, I'd like to fix that as well. If I go out and then in again, this will be hard to show, but when we die, for a second after we die, before we actually respawn, the player's collider is still there, and that can still hit stuff, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to fix both of those first really quickly. Then we'll get on to making our player's ship model. So first of all, the friction problem. This is going to be an easy fix. We're going to go over to materials, and we're going to make a new, I'm actually going to make a new folder called physics. Well, physics materials. And then I'm going to go into that, and I'm going to make a new physics material down here. I'm going to call this player. And basically this allows us to do things with friction and bounciness and all that. So I'm just going to set all these to 0. We're in space. We don't want no friction. I'm going to set this to minimum, and bounce I'll also set to minimum because we don't really need our player to bounce off of anything, I don't believe. So now I'm going to take this and apply it to here. And actually, then that should work like that. Our player should now be frictionless, and they should slide a lot easier. Now, one thing I just want to try because I'm curious, I want to see what happens just actually if we do increase the bounciness. I just want to see what actually will happen. So we kind of bounce off. Okay, that's very much not what we want. But if I do set this to average and maybe set this to like a 0.25, I just want to see if maybe so it doesn't look like we hit the edge so hard. If we just sort of bounce. Nah, okay, I think it would be better if we just, I'll zero that out, keep it as average. Yeah, that should be fine. Alright, so that fixes problem numero uno. Problem numero dos is having the player's collider get disabled when they're destroyed in those few seconds before we restart the scene. And that's as simple as going to our player health script, and where we disable everything else, we're going to want to disable the box collider as well. So we're going to go, we're going to get a reference to the box collider. So the player health is on the same component that the box collider is on. So we're just going to want to go get component box collider dot enabled equals false. It's a script just like anything else. It's just not, it's one that's already written for us, not one that we're writing ourselves, so it has the same, we can enable it and disable it like any other script. So now that we can't really test easily because the scenario that makes it a problem is kind of rare to happen. I guess if we had like lots of enemies on screen, then it would be a lot more noticeable. But if I die there and then I look here, this is disabled, so that's good. We have no problems with that. All right, now that's all done, time to make our player ship. So I was experimenting with ideas, and something that I came up with that I think could be cool. I'm going to delete the cube there, and I'm going to start with, actually I was going to start with a UV sphere, but I'm going to see if an icosphere could look interesting. Actually, I'm also going to make I'm going to call this, so I have an icosphere here, I'm going to call this center, and then I'll color it, I guess, center. I actually haven't thought about colors at all. I guess we could keep it the same kind of blue here, but the background's also blue, so maybe we might go for like a green, good guy player ship. I'm thinking as well, we could make this like a human spaceship, and then it's fighting aliens and all that, but I think, just to make things slightly different, we'll have an alien ship fighting another species of aliens. So 2 sets of alien ships but maybe having them have kind of a different style. They don't look like they're the same species, that sort of thing. So we're going to have an icosphere here, and I guess I'll color this green, I suppose. Colors probably will change. And then I'm going to make a torus over here, and I'm going to decrease its number of segments down quite a lot. Alright, and then, actually, now I'll increase that to 8, just for what I'm going to be using it for. I'm going to now, I want this to kind of look kind of like a Saturn, the Saturn thing that we had before, except I'm only going to use, actually, and then I want it to be wider. Whoa. Bigger. That maybe works, but I also want to just have it be a consistent sizing, just because if we're going to still want to have a box glider on it, if it's still approximately a box shape, that'll just help us out more in the long run. So I'm going to set these to like exact values like that, and then I'm going to change this to these dimensions of this to 4 and 4 and 1. Yeah, and then now I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to delete half of this torus. Whoop, not like that. I'm going to select this so there's an X-ray. So we have X-ray turned on so we can see through the whole model. And then I'm going to delete half of the vertices. And then I'm going to turn on proportional editing. I'm going to shift select both of these. Yeah. And then I'm going to not scale them like that. Scale them individually. Like, or 2, 0. And now how big do I want to make this? Oh, bigger. Sort of having like, actually, let me do this at a better angle. Basically having this sort of, I don't really know what you'd call this, but this thing in front of the ship, and then the gun will shoot out of that. Having this actually a lot smaller. Setting this to 0. We can try that. I guess that looks nice. As well, now that we've, I'm also going to go and remove doubles there, just to clean things up a bit there. So now I'm also going to make a sort of jet thing at the back. Actually, we'll color this as well. Front thing. I'm going to call it gun, even though it doesn't look like a gun, but the gun's going to like shoot out of there. We might make like a hole. Actually, yeah, let's make a hole for the gun to actually shoot out of. It's alien-y. It doesn't need to make sense. So now, can I... Ooh, that's interesting. I could go like this, and then extrude that in, and make that smaller. That looks interesting. As well, I'm actually going to turn proportional editing off and then do that a little bit just so there's a kind of space in there. And then let me just try and kind of random things. If I make that bigger, and then if I take Alt B here, turning the clamp on, something like that. Actually, no, I'll undo that part. Another thing, again, we're going to be seeing the ship from the top view, so we're not really going to see this much, but just having a little bit of detail in here doesn't hurt. Actually, I will do that. Turn on clamping. Just go like that, I guess. So now this gun, I'll make it a purple, I guess. Blue, green and purple. That's alien-y. And, Alright, I'm probably going to change the colors at some point. We'll see. I'm also going to get rid of these faces here, or edges. Actually, I'm going to hit dissolve edges just so we don't need that to be that. Actually, if I do that, then hit Control B, vertices, just so it's not so pointy. If I went like that, maybe? Yeah, just sort of testing out ideas. What happens if I get rid of these two? I'll leave them in, I guess. So now we have this sort of thing going on, I guess. And then the gun, we'll have our bullet shoot out of here. Yeah, except actually our bullet that we're spawning is going to be a lot bigger than the actual space that we're trying to spawn it inside. So that might look like a bit of a problem. So what it might actually do is attach these to the center as opposed to being floating off to the side. So then the whole bullet's kind of coming out of the whole center piece. We can kind of just spawn it inside, and then we won't have problems with this. I'm also going to call this gun. Except I think I'm actually going to, actually, no, I'll take this, select these 4 vertices here, and then just extrude them in like that, except that kind of looks, not how I want it to. Taking this, moving it up, and taking this and moving it down. I want it to be symmetrical-ish, but other than that, the dimensions don't really matter too much. Alright, I'm also going to then, I guess, do a ring cut there, and I guess I can extend that. Cool. Just so we have more stuff going on, I suppose. Alright, so now we're going to want to make a jet thing of some kind. I guess I will go with a... deciding how I want this to look. I could go with a cylinder, I suppose. Or I could go with a cone. Or I could have a torus. Actually, idea. We'll see if this works or not. Kind of want those to be set back to their normal values. Actually, that's fine. And also, this is going to be a pretty small thing, so I'm going to lower these divided by 2. I'll go with that. I'll set this to like a 0.5. Yeah, okay, so then I'm going to rotate it like that. I'm going to zero everything out. Scale that down a bunch, 0.25 maybe, and then move it out here. So we can just have these like rings, and then when we create like a jet stream thing, having them just kind of come out of thin air in this space. I think that can maybe look cool. Or we could extend it like that. Or actually we could have it be here. Whoop. And then extend it like this, kind of as a shooty thing. Actually, I kind of want 2 jets, I think, so I'm going to put them at the side here, and then I'll scale it on the Y by 2. I'm going to hit Alt-D to duplicate it over here, and what that'll do is, these are the same, we change one, it'll change the other. Yeah, I'm going to call this Jet, and I'm going to change the name over here to Jet 1. Oops. Jet 1 and Jet 2. Alright. Actually, I guess the naming would be the opposite. Actually, yeah, I'm going to change this to Jet, and I'm going to put spaces as well. Jet 1 and Jet Space 2. But it's the same jet material, so I don't know what looks good here. We go with like a cyan. Might be a bit too alien-y. I might normalize the colors a bit later. I could actually also maybe turn these in. Because then if I could have... Yeah, I could turn these in like this. And then have 2 jets that way and that way. And it kind of balances out to it facing forward. I suppose. Yeah, I guess we have that. Although, I guess also if we're going to have this part be connected to here, I might want these connected as well. So I might go and scale that. How big? I could also... This does also maybe look a bit flat. There could be some detail we could do to make it more... 3-dimensional, I guess. And actually, I have an idea. I'm going to rotate this on its local x-axis by 30 degrees, and there by negative 30 degrees, and then move them both down just a tad, and then Alt-D, linked duplicate, I think that's what that's called, and then put this up, not like that, over here like this, no, negative 90, and then also maybe have like a third one kind of like this, and then rotate that on the x-axis down by 30 degrees. Just to kind of, I don't know, have 3 that kind of, I don't know, makes it have more dimension to it, I suppose. I also wonder if there's anything we could do to stretch this out. Maybe I can try something else, going to the side view. Yep, going to the right view, and then if I were to extend this, and then, whoa, that's not what I want, sort of rotate it around, give it some kind of upper thing. I don't really know what I would call this. G, and then I'm gonna actually go and like this, and again zero that out with doing that a bit to this, and then go select everything, remove doubles. Just some kind of upper thing. This is all alien stuff, so I have to call everything thing because I don't know what I would call it otherwise. I'm also gonna move this out, give it more a depth. There's also a ring there I'm gonna get rid of, and I'm also gonna make this one smaller. And I also think I might go to sphere. Well, turn off proportional editing, space, to sphere. Do that, sort of make it a sphere if it wants to do that. Doing it a few times. Oh, if I just do it over and over, it slowly becomes more sphere-like. Mainly, I want to take that, move it out, and that, move it out. And then I'll do the same to this. Alright, and then sort of evening that out. Actually, I want this to be symmetrical, so yeah, that's fine, like that. Alright, so that is interesting. We can leave the bottom bare, I guess. Again, we're also not going to see the bottom, probably, so yeah. Oh yeah, I can also do that. Actually, like turn on proportional editing, G, do that, and move it up like this. I guess that could be cool. I don't know. This is just also a matter of just more random experimentation, I guess. Also, I'm going to move that further back, and I think these parts are also fine floating, I guess. Here, we just mainly needed a spot for the shot to get spawned. This isn't as deep as the shot goes, but again, top view, we don't actually see the shot, so it should be fine. What else can I experiment with doing while I'm here? Let me look at what modifiers I have. If I were to add a, where is it? A bevel modifier and increase that. I don't like how that looks. Subdivision surface modifier. If we wanted, we also do that, make it smooth, and then you're on your way to having something more high poly, and you could add more detail to it. But I kind of like this blocky, low poly style. Actually, I wonder if I were to triangulate it and go to, where are you? There's a decimate modifier somewhere around here. It's over there, and then I could. Actually, what if I tried adding a? Whoa, that's an interesting design, but if I subdivide it and then go and decimate it, then that kind of triangulates things. In fact, I don't think I need that part. Whoa. If I check mark triangulate. We could also get an interesting result there, and then it could look maybe kind of broken or something. That's fascinating. So what if I went to just unsubdivide? Then it's a lot more uniform, but it does also kind of destroy. Oh yeah, I'm also just realizing how it does kind of destroy our inner gun thing. I think I'm also just going to get rid of both of those, keep it like this. Also, just in the name of being low poly, I'll get rid of that one there. Actually, I'll get rid of the outer one, so it kind of goes in a tad. Actually, another thing, what happens if I try bringing this out? What does that look like? A-okay to me. Alright, so now we're done that. I'm going to hit save, and then actually go out of this background folder and call this player ship. Alright, we got ourselves a ship. So centerpiece, jets. Actually, I should rename this part, this one to Jet 3, because. Alright, now back to Unity. Actually, one other thing, this ship is very much not. We kind of want to, I think well, okay, I was about to say we kind of want to have the same dimensions, but I guess it doesn't matter too much. It's still box-like enough, and that means we can handle, like we can just have a box spider around it as opposed to it being like long and then thin. I'm also going to go and apply all these transforms here. Right, you can't apply transform on the these jets. That's probably fine. Because they're all the same duplicated object. That should be a-okay. So now we're going to go to models, our player ship in all its glory. Alright, so now Again, I'm going to get rid of the animation stuff for now. Eventually we might make animations for the player ship, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So now again, sorry, this to calculate this to 0, uncheck all of those. And then materials, I'm going to remap all of these to the colors that are close enough. Actually, sorry, this to green, this gun to purple, and then the jet to our cyan. Alright, then apply all of that. Doing this also changes the dimensions of our player, which could affect things. Theoretically, it'll make it slightly harder because of the player being larger, and therefore they can get hit easier. But yeah, okay, so that's opposite of the way that we want it to be. So I drag that in as a child object of everything. Actually, we're going to be getting rid of the cube part there, so actually probably what we'll do is make that over... Whoa. It doesn't like us. Okay. Yeah, messing with the prefab. So actually I'm going to go open this, open it as a prefab, and then go in, drag the player ship in. I just as a child object of that, not this part. Delete that, going over here. Actually, no, sorry. I'm going to want to keep that in just so I can get a size of what the, set the scale of what the player was like before. Now I saw before that this is backwards, so rotating it by 180 degrees, and then going and scaling it down. So I'll go 0.5 on each axis. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. All right, now it's basically the same size-ish. And now I can delete this cube. And now going to here, going into 2D view for a second. Now I can adjust the collider till it basically matches. Although I would still like the ship to be kind of like centered enough. Negative 0.1, and then move it, oh, not on that axis, move it back just a tad, 0.15, all right, oh, just 0.5, 0.15, going over here, scaling this, yeah, that's not fun, all right, I don't need to scale it that way, I'll check it out in a minute. I guess I will move this back a bit. Not that one. I'll move not that one either. This one a bit. 5, 6, 7. Whoa. Over 0.01, 2, 3, 4. That works. I also. It would be better to have it be a bit smaller than a bit bigger, just because being a bit more lenient with collision, depending on how hard we want our game to be. So now I'm also going to scale that down to about there. That works. And yes. Actually, I'm going to zero that out and then make that a bit lower. Yeah, all right. And then I'll make this 0.5 just to be a bit on the lenient side. Actually, if we want to, or no, yeah, this is fine. All right, so now we have that. Let's give it a test ride, I guess. So now going in. All right, so we got errors. That's always great. Although our shots seem to be firing right away, pretty good. There is a bit of like, if you're moving to the side, they kind of spawn out the side. So we could handle that. First of all, I'd like to see what this error that we're getting is. Player help at start, unclear enter. Let me go out of this. Oh, right, because it's, oh, yeah. So it's looking for the mesh data to disable the player, but there's like multiple mesh items now. What can we do with that? So, actually, because this is all one thing, we could combine all of this. And then, I didn't need to open this, but there we go. I could combine all of this, hit Control J, and then it's all one model, and then has one set of mesh data. And then actually, if I'm doing that, then I can also go into edit mode, and then I can zero these out. And now we know this is kind of in the center. Boom. Or, I think that's better. Actually, no. And then No, that's moving the origin in the center. We want to move the center of the object. So object to center of mass volume there. And now zero all that out. No, zero it out this way. Perfecto. And now I can actually just call this player ship. Perfect. Over to here. Don't need that. All right. Waiting for this to come back in. So now we got our player ship down there as it was. And now that we've moved things around a bit more, we might have to readjust the collider, which isn't a problem. Actually, it's about the same. I basically just need to... If it's centered, why is that there's still a problem there? Alright, oh well. I can just move this back, and then this out. 1.65, and then make this 1.5. That works. Alright, so now we have that. I could... This has that mesh collider. I could take that out. Well, I have to go in here. Actually, let me go out, apply those changes that I just made before, then open this, then go to the player ship, then drag this back out over top. Childer cannot be... Unpack the prefab. Oh yeah, because the, so yeah, unpack prefab there, then drag this out, then delete this, then we just have this part, and now it should be the same. Yes. Alright, so now we should be able to go in, and the health script should be able to destroy the player just fine like before, or maybe not. Now, why might that be? The player health script is there. Player underscore script, it has a different name, so when it goes to find it, it's probably not finding. Yeah, player object, player underscore ship. Alright, now that that has the same name, it should be able to find the object successfully. Another thing you could do if you, for a reason, needed to have multiple objects, you could go and set up over player object. You could make this an array and then find like, dude, I think it's like transform dot like find or like get get children like with components, and then you can basically get every child object that has a mesh renderer component. Then go through a for loop and then disable all of them individually. But we don't really need to do that here. We can just keep everything as one object, and that works fine. Cool, so now we got our player ship in. Fantastic. Then one last thing I'd like to do is, so with our shots, they're spawning right in the center of the player here. We kind of want to move that up a bit so they're spawning more over here, so it's kind of coming out of the gun and not, when we're moving to the side, coming out the side. So we are going to then go and we'll make a child object called shot spawn. Spawn. And then we'll move this to up just a tad, not 0.5, maybe 0.35. And then we'll alter our player shoot script so that it spawns at that shot spawn object. So, looking for player spawn, I'm going to have to open it up over here, edit script. So now we're going to want to make, I'll make a private object. A private transform is all we'll need. Think. Yeah, private transform, that's all we'll need. Private transform, shot spawn. Alright, and then we'll get that here. So shot spawn dot, or equals transform dot find shot spawn. Cool, and then down here when we spawn the shot, we'll spawn it not at transform dot position, but shot spawn dot position, and I guess we can go shot spawn dot rotation, though that shouldn't make a difference. I mean, then technically we could, I guess, rotate the gun. Oh, I guess another way you could take this, you could allow the player to aim, I guess, and then you could turn that purple piece and then you could fire forward based on that. But for now, we'll stick more classically and just make it so that, well, they can't aim, they just shoot forward. Alright, so that works, I think. Alright, so, cool. Alright, died there. But, alright, so we got our player to exist. Eventually we might animate it, and actually, I think what I will do, yeah, I might actually go and separate out the three objects into different objects again, and then I might have the icosphere be spinning for an animation, but we'll worry about that later when we're polishing things more. Eventually, also, we might have a jet trail coming out of these jets, and then things will look more lively. Alright, I'm cutting this into the middle of the episode somewhere. I changed, like, after the episode was finished, I was experimenting with more color choices, and I did this, and I think it looked kind of cool. Maybe a bit nature-y. That could be an interesting way to take this, like a nature-y ship. And we were to actually go far out and improve these models more. It'd be kind of cool to see if this was like vines or trees and stuff, and this was all made of rocks and dirt. And then maybe these were like spewing water. That'd be an interesting take on this. I don't know if I'll get to that level of polish, but it's an idea, I suppose. Anyway, take it away, past me from whatever.
Okay, cutting in part 2, I'm actually going to kind of redo the ending to how the video was before, where I was just going to end after making the ship, but I've decided I'm going to actually do some animating as well. So with these recolors in, I also went and separated the 5 parts into separate objects again. So yeah, then I brought them back in and sort of set this up how it was originally. Yeah, so now we're going to actually edit the player health script first of all, so that it works with all of this. So going back here, having this open up, we're going to set up a private, instead of having a game object that is the player object. Actually, hold up, I was about to get a reference to all the mesh colliders and all of that, but I just realized I don't even need to. I can just get a reference to this object and then just turn that off. Alright, that's way easier. Actually, it's just going to work like that, except I'm going to need to place the underscore with a space. Then it'll find that object. Oh yeah, it said it false. Alright, yeah, I was about to go and get references to a bunch of mesh colliders, but I don't even need to do that. Fair enough. Waiting for that to load back in. Now the center, I'm going to add a random rotator to with the speed of 10. And then the jets, I have an idea for them. I'm going to make a game object called, or new empty game object called jets. Go over here, make this, go into 2D mode. Go to about there where the sort of center point of those jets kind of is. I don't think that should matter too much. Then making all these jets a child object of that jet thing, which it won't let me do. Okay, wait, hold up, going out. Applying this override thing, opening up the prefab, jets, this, taking this child object to there, and then I want to add just a normal rotator script to here, and then have this spin on the z-axis. Yeah, so it spins around like this. I think that could be cool, but that's what I'm gonna try. I'll also set that to 10. Wait, no, these numbers need to be big because of the time.delta time thing. Alright, let's see what that looks like. Now, the only thing that's not animated is the gun, so I might want to then... Ooh, I like it, except those aren't as equally spaced apart, and also the isosphere isn't really spinning fast, but maybe it'll look good with the asymmetry. So I'll set that up to 100, and we'll see if that spins as fast as I want it to. It'll also then have some randomness to it. I think I want it to spin faster. So we're going to make it even faster. Let's go 300. Now that might be too fast, but we're about to find out. Alright, I think that's okay, too fast, so fine. I'll go into 200. What'll also be cool is if these jets are spinning, I'm also going to make this slightly slower to 80. These jets are all spinning around. When we make it eventually so that they are actually having a jet coming out, then the jet will have like a cool spiral pattern. I think that could be really cool. So as well, it would be kind of hard to set these all up to be in like a tribe thing. I think they'll be fine for now. I guess I might move. Yeah, I'll just leave it as is. So the last thing that we might edit is the centerpiece up here, if I can select it. Sorry, the gun. And maybe make it like wobble back and forth. Now, deciding how I want to do this. I could go and make an animation for this. Actually, I think that's exactly what I'll do. Okay, so this is kind of weird. I guess I'm sort of combining animation with code. But, oh well, I guess is what we're going to do. So, animation in Blender. Yeah, this should work, hopefully. So, I'm going to add a keyframe for this gun's location, rotation, and scale. Let's go to... So, if this is running at 24 frames per second, let's go at 10. Actually, let's go at 20. It'll raise this up to -10 degrees. Boom. Actually, so it's more uniform. This will start at, not there. This will start at -10 degrees, go over 20 frames to +10 degrees, and then over here back to -10. I also only really actually needed to handle the rotation, so I'll only do that. Going back to Unity. Oh, also, then I should set the end thing to 41 if that's how long this is. We can make more complex animations later if we need to, but this is kind of a case where we don't really need to do that. So, now we have that. Now we're going to have to actually go and import the animation. So I'm going to have to undo this other stuff that I did. Generic and import animation. Yep. Then hit apply. Then all the animation options will come up. And I'm hoping this doesn't mess up the model in Unity. I'm also going to... Okay, I don't know why those don't have... Why those still have the weird colors. Right, because I'm just going to update the colors just because... Just so it looks the same. Gun and the jet. The jet was not purple, the jet was blue. No. There. Then apply. Then wait for it to... Alright, cool, Zios. Now here, I'll call it default, just because it's the only animation that this thing does. Cool, loop the time, hit apply. Now we're going to have to actually apply the animation to this. So we're going to have to go to this player ship part, and then we're going to have to add a an animator called, add an animator component. If I just take this and drag and drop it there, it'll automatically make an animation controller, and then plug that in, and then this animation controller just has this one animation setup that's running on loop, so it does a lot of stuff for us automatically, so that's nice. And now I'm also going to then make a new folder called animations, and then I'm going to go back to the models and drag and drop that in there, organization and all that. So now we're going to see if this actually works. Let me go to this animation panel for a second. So it says that all this stuff is missing. That's actually kind of what I want, because I don't want it to override. I'm actually going to do something else. I'm going to rename this for a second. I'm just going to add a 1 there. Yeah, so that's missing. I'm purposely going to make it so I'm going to call it just center piece, just so it has a different name. This is kind of a weird way of going at it. There's probably a better way, but just so that this only has, it's only animating the gun, because otherwise I think it might override the random rotation stuff for the sphere and the jet. We can find out how we're going to go about that later. All right, so now that that's going back and forth, and that's rotating, There, our ship looks a lot better now, I would think. I was about to say I would say, and then I said I would think, and then I combined the words. All right. So, cool. Now, that looks a lot better, and we're back to where we were, except this looks better now. All right, so that'll do it for this episode. In the next episode, we're going to go about making a pause screen. We'll shy away from modeling for a little bit. We'll make a pause screen that has, like, a resume button. You'll hit escape by activating it. Everything will freeze. It'll have a resume button. And then, like, probably a level select button. Like, go back to level select. That'll be temporary and it won't do anything yet because we haven't made a level select yet. But it'll be temporary and exist and all of that. All right. So, yeah, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. And have a good day.